showtime.
Hey, what's up, ghouls and gals? It's me, Ryan T here, and today we're going to review The Nun. Alright guys, like always, with my new reviews, I'm going to try to keep them short, sweet, and spoiler-free. Alright guys, let's get right into it. The Nun stars Thaisa Farmiga.
I saw a nun.
And Damien Beecher, this guy right here. Alright guys, essentially The Nun follows the two people that I just introduced right here. These two dudes, or dudes and dudette, these guys. Basically they are going to this old dilapidated church to go and investigate a suicide that occurred at the church. And the film just kind of opens up from there, and I have to say, story-wise, this film is interesting. The story behind this film is really interesting. Like with all the Conjuring films, the story is usually pretty good. But that's the problem that comes with this film is the execution. The execution of this film is not that great. The Nun is essentially a more mature episode of Scooby-Doo.
And I would have made millions if it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
These characters, the two characters that the film is essentially about, they kind of just sort of wander around this old abandoned church, and every now and again the nun would be like, "Bah! Ah!" Every now and again the nun will like pop out and like scare them and do something spooky. That's another thing about this film. This movie, it isn't scary at all. I mean, it's spooky. It has the dark, gothic atmosphere, and you know what I mean? And visually, this movie it's a spooky movie, man. You know what I mean? If I was in that church in real life, I'd be fucking scared shitless, but I wasn't in that church in real life. I was watching it on a movie, and it didn't really translate that great to film. It kind of looked as if, again, I was watching a more mature episode of Scooby-Doo.
You buzzed?
No, Shaggy. Go back to sleep.
The Nun, for example, she didn't come off as terrifying to me. She came off as more of a comic book villain. And come to think about it, this film was kind of like a comic book horror movie. I mean, essentially, Thaisa Farmiga's character is kind of a superhero. She possesses, like, somewhat superpowers. She has, like, clairvoyancy. She can kind of, like, see visions and stuff like that. They don't really, like, elaborate on it too much. Much like everything in this film, they don't really give you a lot to go off of. They don't really tell you what the nun is or how it really got there or what its motivation is aside from Satan. And that's another thing that really destroys this film, is that this film doesn't really tell you anything aside from a very small detail at the creature called the Nun's backstory. So other than that one specific scene, you don't really get anything, out of this movie. I mean, well, there is a one scene at the very end that kind of connects this film to the larger Conjuring universe. But other than that, this film doesn't really do anything for the Conjuring universe. It doesn't really, I mean, for lack of a better word, this film was just made to just, I guess, make money. I mean, this movie isn't really vital to the Conjuring universe as a whole, other than it serves to set up the next film, which this movie is essentially serving the next film. That's all this movie really does. That's another thing that really hits this film below the belt, is that since you know that this film is a prequel, you know that this nun character, this isn't the last time we're going to see this character. This character comes back. So that takes a lot of impact away from this film, knowing that once the heroes of this film defeat the villain's just going to come back anyway in another movie. So that really takes the impact out of this film. But again, I wasn't bored watching this movie. This movie is somewhat entertaining. It's not the worst thing that I ever seen, but it isn't by far the best thing that I ever seen. It's very mediocre and very paint by numbers. It's kind of like if they sat down and were like, how do we make a horror movie? How do we make the most basic horror movie? And again, I mean, that it isn't a terrible film. It isn't a terrible thing. It's just very basic in that it's a lot of jump scares. It's a lot of something popping up right here. It's a lot of that. So if you're going to this movie looking to find something new, something fresh, this isn't the movie for you. But if you're just going to see another Conjuring type movie, then you'll have fun with this movie. With that being said, guys, my final verdict for this movie is a 6 out of 10. This film had potential. I wasn't bored watching it, but it never went there. It never fully used all of its ingredients to make a good horror movie pie, so to speak. So with that being said, 6 out of 10. Alright guys, I hope you like this review, and get ready for Halloween Horror Theater number 2, which is going to be coming at you on October 1st, where I will be reviewing a new horror film every single day. Alright guys, thanks for watching.